3.
Hello, everyone. A very pleasant Tuesday afternoon to all of you. Welcome to our training session. Today, we will be going over tips, shortcuts, and what's new in Microsoft Teams. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, as a reminder, this training is going to be recorded and it will be available on demand for the next 90 days. So if you have a colleague who couldn't join us today, or if you just want to revisit the training, you can access the recording through the same meeting link that brought you here in this live session that you are in right now. Now, our session is hosted in a Microsoft Teams live event environment, so you're going to notice a player in the middle of your screen with DVR-like controls. To the leftmost side of that player, you will see your pause and play button, and this will allow you to pause the event at any time of your liking. If you need to step away to maybe stretch your arms, legs, grab a snack, grab a drink, you can do that. And when you come back, you can press play once again and pick up where you left off. To the right, you will see your speaker icon. This will adjust the volume of your audio, but please make sure it's up to a level where you can comfortably hear this presentation. Now to the right, you will see your CC icon as well. This is for closed captioning, and this can be toggled on and off easily. To tie in with that CC icon, we have that gear icon, which looks like a cogwheel, and this is for your settings. Now, when you select the gear icon, you can configure how your closed captions are going to look like. You can also select the language for your closed captions. And if you see that your video is a little blurry, it's not really up to your level of high quality standard, you can change the resolution for your video. You can always remove it off of auto and choose a resolution that fits your need. You can also view this presentation in full screen by selecting the diagonal arrows here to the right, but selecting full screen will hide the Q&A panel to the rightmost side of your window. So if you need to communicate with us, send us your messages, your questions, or let us know if you're experiencing any technical issues, the Q&A panel will be our place to talk with each other. Now, for you to access the Q&A panel, exit out of your full screen first, and then select the Q&A icon that's found here at the top, and that panel will magically open. And at the bottom, you will find your compose box where you can send us your messages. Again, let us know if you're experiencing any issues. Our trainers in the back end will be more than happy to help you lightly troubleshoot. You can also attach your name to whatever you send to us, or you can remain mysterious by ticking this box beside post as anonymous here at the bottom left. Now, again, that Q&A panel is where we will be communicating. This is where you can send us your questions. And with questions, answers will be provided by the moderators. And we also have links to resources that may be useful for you, and you can refer to them even after our session concludes. All right, once again, this is a live event, so you're going to notice your cameras and microphones will not be in use. Once again, that Q&A panel is the only medium for us to see any communication from all of you. Make use of that Q&A panel for questions, technical issues, or any comments. And if you have any issues, our moderators today will be more than happy to help you. All right, let's connect faces to the voices that you are hearing in this session. Let me introduce the beautiful trainers that we have today in this session. My name is Yami. I'll be your presenter, and I'm joined by my fantastic colleagues. We have Rod, Yamelsi, Delia, and Triple J. They will be moderating the Q&A and engaging with all of you, answering your questions as they come. We're all trainers with Microsoft based here in New York City. All right. Our agenda today is going to focus on several functions that we have in our Teams application. And these functions will help us work smarter, if not faster, in our day-to-day. We're going to go over best practices when utilizing our formatting options and messaging extensions, tools, and shortcuts to help streamline collaboration. And of course, we'll see some strategies and other features that will simplify our workday. So we're going to explore some advanced tools available to us, specifically within the conversation section for meetings and calls. We also have teams and channels, and we'll be going over the search bar and how we can find messages, files, people, and even utilize some commands. We'll also be going over our files and notifications, some useful shortcuts, and also creating a personal workspace in Teams to speed up completion of our day-to-day tasks. All right, we're done with the introduction part. We're actually going to go into our demonstration now. So I'm going to share out of my deck right now, and we'll be taken to my virtual machine. I'm giving myself 5 seconds. That's less than 5 seconds. All right, I broke my record. Okay, now I am in my virtual machine, and I do have my Teams application open right now, and I want to check in with my moderators if they're seeing the screen correctly.
You're good to go, Yemi. Right on.
Thank you, Rod. That's Rod, one of the many trainers that we have in the back end. Rod will also be answering your questions alongside Yamelsi, Delia, and Triple J, so make use of that Q&A panel. Okay, so I do have my virtual machine up. It's up and running, and I have my Teams application. Now, before I move forward, I want to remind everybody that today I will not be using any of my personal information. I did introduce myself as Yami, but I'll be logged in today as a fictional person, and her name is Patty Fernandez. So you can see Patty's picture here. Now, Patty, again, is a fictional person, and Patty is the CEO of a fictional company called Contelso Electronics. All the names that we'll be seeing in this demonstration today are all fictional. If somebody around or someplace in the world is named Patty Fernandez, we did not intend that to happen. So again, we have Patty Fernandez for today. Now we're going to start our demonstration by going back to the profile. Now here on the top right portion of your Teams application is your profile. And once you select your profile, you will have your profile panel. Now here we will see our picture or profile picture, and we can quickly change this by selecting the camera icon. We can either upload a picture or remove our picture altogether. Now, when you do remove your picture, do remember your initials will show up instead. Your initials will also depend on how your organization has listed your name in the Active Directory. Now, apart from our profile picture, we also have what we call our user presence. Now, our user presence, or what we call availability, it's really key. This is important for communicating and collaborating within teams because this is how your colleagues will know if you are available or if you're busy or you don't want to be disturbed. Now, when we select this downward arrow, we have a couple of presences here that we can change manually. Now, available obviously will mean that you're not busy. There's nothing that is scheduled on your calendar, so you're available for a call or maybe a chat. You can set yourself to busy just to indicate that you are tending to some tasks, but you are welcoming notifications or even chats or calls from your colleagues. Do not disturb is a little bit different. This means that you are busy, you're attending to something important, but you don't want notifications to come in. Now, if there are colleagues or some people in your organization that you don't want to miss notifications from, you will need to set up your priority contacts. So we're going to go to our priority contacts in a few moments. Now we have be right back and appear away. This will just indicate that you can't or you're not able to respond to a message or a call immediately. And then appear offline, just to indicate that you are not signed in into Teams. Now, at any point, we're also able to set a duration for our user presences. Now, when we select duration, you'll have your options here at the top. So when we select this downward menu, you'll see busy, do not disturb, and so on and so forth. One thing you will notice is that you're not able to set a duration for available. So we're only able to set durations for these options here. Now, for instance, you want to set yourself as busy. Maybe for the next 30 minutes, you can select this downward arrow. And here you can select 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, your status will reset and it will sync again with your calendar. So whatever is on your calendar will also reflect as your status. Now, one thing to remember, if you are going to set it to today, your status will reset at 11:59 p.m. of that day. So if you don't want that to happen, just make sure that you specify the duration for your status presence. Now, just next door, we're going to see the option to set a status message. Everybody's familiar with this if you're the type of user who likes putting in quotes or Bible verses or any other sayings or quotations from famous people. You can make use of that status message here. Now, an important use of the status message will be at mentioning our coworkers by typing down the at symbol. Now, this is highly useful if you're going to be away for maybe a couple of hours or maybe for an hour for lunch, and you want your colleague to receive important information from other colleagues who are trying to communicate with you. Let's say I'm going to tag my colleague Lee, and if I am out to lunch for an hour, I might just say, please contact Lee for any urgent messages. Now, to tie in with the status message, if you want to make sure that your colleagues are able to see this, you want to tick this box here that says show when people message me. So when your colleagues are going to attempt to send you a message, this status message will appear on top of their composed boxes. So they know right away that you are away from your desk and they will need to talk to another person to communicate something urgent. And similar to our user presences, you also have the option to clear your status message after a specific duration. So you can choose an hour, 4 hours, today, and you can even set a custom duration for it. Now, if you are the type of user who likes putting in your out to lunch status messages, this is a great use for that. And to tie in, you can also set it for just an hour if your lunch break is just for an hour. Another thing you're going to notice in your status message panel is the option to schedule your out of office. Now, an interesting thing about our Teams application and our Outlook application is that they are synced in, I would say 80% of the time. When you schedule your out of office from your Teams application, you will not need to schedule it from your Outlook. That will sync over. If you did it the other way, if you synced it or if you schedule your out of office using Outlook, you will not need to set it here in Teams. Again, they're going to be synced over. Right. Now, up next, we're going to see some tips and tricks revolving around our settings and notifications. Now, where do we find our settings? So just beside our profile picture, you will see the ellipses. These are 3 dots. And within the ellipses, you will see more options as well. You will see your list of keyboard shortcuts, which we will explore in our demonstration today. And if you need to zoom in and out of the Teams window, you will find that functionality here as well. Now I'm going to take us all to the settings menu. Now we're not going to go over each and every tab since it's going to take a lot of time, but I'm going to take us to some of the settings here that not a lot of users are really aware of. Now, first off, I want to take us all to the notifications tab. Now, we're all familiar with setting our notifications for chats, meetings and calls, and even for our teams and channels. So we can customize what notifications we want to be alerted of. Now, one tip I want to show everybody is under our people group. Now, when we select people and when we select edit, in here, we can add those colleagues that we want to be notified of when they are logged in or when they are available. So if, let's say, for example, you always communicate with a colleague and you want to make sure that your message is read by this colleague, you want to be notified if they are available. Now here, I already have Lynn added as one of those colleagues. And if I want to add more, I'm going to type down maybe Lee, for example. And let's say Christy. All right. Now, every time these individuals are going to be available in the Teams application, it's going to show me a banner notification here at the bottom right, telling me that Christy is now online or Lee is now online. And now I know that I can call them or send them a message. Now, a quick way for us to do this as well is I'm just going to close out of my settings menu. While we are in our chat, if there are any individuals here that you want to receive a notification when they are available, you can just quickly hover on that conversation with them. Select the ellipses to the right. And from here, you will find the same option to notify you when they are available. Now I see Miriam is offline right now. I want to know if she is available, so I'm going to add her to that list. Now let's go back to that settings. Again, here in the 3 dots or ellipses. Right. Now again, later on, if you want to remove somebody from that list, you don't want to be notified when they are available or online. You can just go back to edit and select turn off. Now, one more tip I want to show everybody will be read receipts. If we go to our privacy tab, scroll just a little further down, you're going to see a toggle switch here for your read receipts. Now, currently I have this toggled on, meaning if I send a chat over, I will see an icon just to the right of my message. I will see an eye icon indicating that the recipient has read my message. Now, one thing to remember is that if you are chatting with someone who has read receipts turned off, or if it's someone outside your organization, you will not see read receipts in your chat. Now here, I believe in my group chat, it's not working for me because I believe Lynn, maybe Lee, and also Nestor, they don't have read receipts turned on. So even if I had it turned on, those icons are not going to appear for me. All right. Now, this is good timing because the next area that we're moving to is the chat area. Now, in our chat, the biggest and most useful tip is to make use of the tools that we can find just below our message box. So here at the bottom, you will see a host of tools that we can make use of to enhance our text. Now, first off, you're going to see your formatting tool. That is the A icon with the pen. And just like our Microsoft Word or even Excel or PowerPoint, you're going to see your rich text formatting options here at the top. Now, we're not going to go into length with all of these functions, but just calling out if you want to change the color of your font, this is the icon for it. If you want to highlight your text, you'll see this pen or highlighter icon. Your indentations will be here as well. And if you are sending a lengthy message, you can add a horizontal rule. And Christy Klein is now available, so that notification that I set up is working. So now that whenever Christy is available, I will have that banner notification here at the bottom right. Now, going back to our rich text formatting options, aside from your horizontal rule, you can also add tables. Now, we're all familiar with using bold, italics, and underline, and even strike through. Now, if you want to quickly format your text, you can make use of your keyboard shortcuts. Now, all throughout our demonstration today, I will be injecting some keyboard shortcuts that may be useful to speed up your day. Now, let's say I'm just going to say, hello, everybody. I have tasks for you. Let's say I want to bold the word everybody. Instead of selecting bold here, I can quickly just do Control and then B. And that quickly bold then the word everybody. Now let's say I want to italicize the word task. So I highlighted the word task instead of selecting our italics here. I can make use of Control and then I on my keyboard. And that did the trick. Now let's say I want to underline the word you. I'm just going to highlight that text. And instead of selecting you or underline here, I'm going to make use of Control on my keyboard and then you. And that quickly underlined the text. So just quick keyboard shortcuts that you can make use of. I'm not really aware of a keyboard shortcut for strike through. If my moderators can find it and post it in the Q&A, that'll be great. But honestly, I have no idea what keyboard shortcut is going to be for strike through. But again, for all the other 3, you can make use of Control B, Control I, and Control U. So B, I, or you. Right. Now, aside from our formatting option, we also have our delivery method just right next door to it. So this exclamation point, when you select this, you'll have three options. By default, it's going to send our messages in a standard method. But you also have your method or your delivery here, which will be important. So this will just mean that you are tagging your message as important. So everybody in this group will be able to see it and they will tend to it right away. Now, the interesting thing about important is that it's still sent like a standard way of sending our messages. But when I do send this over, for example, you will see an exclamation point in red at the top right corner. And this is a very quick visual representation for everybody in this group chat that this is an important message. Now, lastly, the third option for our delivery method is urgent. Now, urgent, as it says here, your recipients will be notified for 20 minutes, 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So it's going to be a bit annoying if it's not really that important. So I would suggest making use of your urgent delivery method if the message that you are sending is time sensitive or if it is an emergency. Because once again, your recipients will get a notification every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. Right, I see Nestor is typing. All right. Now, just next to our exclamation point, another tool we can use is this paperclip icon. You might have guessed it, paperclip icon will allow you to pull a file and attach it to your message. So we can pull a file from our computer or our local device, or we can make use of our OneDrive for business storage. Whether we are, excuse me, I had to cough. All right, whether we are sending in a one-on-one or a group chat, if we pull from our OneDrive, we will have more options. So let's say I'm going to send this Contoso annual report. I'm going to check this on the left and select share. What's important here, and a very good tip, is that you have to make sure that your link is going to work for the people that you want to access this file. Now, if we select this really tiny downward arrow, this bigger panel will open and you will have options for your links. Now, anyone with the link is the least secure because as it says, anyone who happens to stumble on your link, they will be able to access the document. We have another option, which will be people in your organization with the link. So anyone who is part of your company or your organization, if they see or they happen to be sent this link, they will be able to access the document. Now, because we are currently in a group chat, we have the option for people currently in this chat will be able to access this file. We also have people with existing access. These are individuals that you have granted access to the document, and you're just resharing the link to them. And the most secure, of course, is specific people. Now, because I am in a group chat, this is listing down the people who are in the group chat. Now, let's say, for instance, I don't want Christy to access this document that I am sending to the group. So I'm going to select this X. And when I send this file over, Lee, Nestor, and Lynn will be able to access the file. Christy will see that I've sent a file, but she won't have access to it. Now down here, other settings for you will be allowing your coworkers to edit your document. You can also just allow them to review and suggest changes. And lastly, you can also just allow them to view the document. And if you select can view only, you can also block them from downloading the document so they won't have a personal copy of the document you are sharing to them. For now, I'm going to select can edit because I do want them to edit this document later on. Now, I want to add Christy once again because I don't want to leave her out of this, right? And I'll hit apply and I'll send this over. Now, do remember, there are existing members of this chat. If later on I add somebody else, they will need to ask for permission so they can access this document. All right. Now, next to our paperclip icon, we're back here, just below our compose box. We have what we call our loop component or our live list. This is a personal favorite of mine. My moderators can attest to that. We like using this when we are in group chat. So if we want to delegate tasks to different members of the group, your live list will be very useful. Now, when we select this loop component, you have options whether you want to launch a bulleted list, a checklist, so on and so forth, or even a table. You have your matrix here where you can select how many columns and rows you want to insert. But we also have what we call our task list. Now, my colleagues and I were just talking about going to lunch together tomorrow. And I want to make sure that everybody has a task for that lunch meeting that we're going to do. So here I have a task name field, also the assigned to and due date. I can initiate and start this list by maybe adding order food, and I can assign this to one of the members of this group. I can make use of the @ symbol, so I can tag or @mention that colleague. So maybe I'll ask Nestor to order food. And that is going to be for tomorrow. Now I'm going to leave the rest of the fields blank, and I'm going to send this loop component. And as I mentioned, this is a live list. So everybody in this group can jump into this list, add a task, or even change the assignees or even the due date. And any changes that they make, I can see in real time. So I see here Nestor is adding tasks. If they want to add more tasks, we have this plus icon here. And we will see who are these colleagues who are currently viewing this loop component. All right, and now Lynn is also adding some tasks. So again, this is a live list, whether it's a bulleted list or a table. If you launch it within your group chat, everybody in the group chat will be able to add into that list. And of course, just next to your loop components, while my coworkers are adding some tasks, let's move on with our messaging extensions. Just next to the loop components, we have our stickers. I'm sorry, our emojis, our GIFs, and stickers. I know a lot of us are already familiar with emojis or smileys. We can make use of an extensive list of emojis here. We also have stickers. I don't really see this a lot. Some of our team members use this sometimes. And we also have our, those are GIFs. And then we have our stickers as well. Now, a useful messaging extension will be this calendar icon. Now, this calendar icon will help you schedule a meeting. And because we are in a group chat, whoever is part of that group chat will be added to the attendee list automatically. Now, this is a quick way if I want to schedule a meeting with the same members that are in this group chat. So I can add a title, set the date and time, and even set it if it's going to be a one-time event or a recurring meeting. Now, that calendar icon is also available in your one-on-one chats, not only in your group chats. All right. Now, the last messaging extension I want to show everybody will be our praise. Now, if your coworker has done something that you want to recognize them for, you have that praise icon. Now, praise here will ask you first for a badge. When we select this downward arrow, you'll have options here. Maybe I want to say team player. I want to select that. And to whom am I sending this praise to? So maybe I want to send this over to Nestor. And here we can add an optional note. Now, before we send this over in the group chat, we can preview this praise. This is how it's going to look like. And once we're ready, we can send this over. Now, again, this is just a nice way to recognize our coworkers for a job well done. Now, Nestor is a team player because he usually doesn't like going out to lunches with other people, but he said yes to going to lunch tomorrow. So he is showing being a team player in this regard. All right. Now, while we are already here in our chat, there are still a couple of things that we can do with the chats that are in this conversation. Now, let's say, for instance, this message that Christy has just sent over. If I hover to it, of course, I will see my emojis or my reactions. I can react to it real quick. And you're also going to notice that ellipses to the right. Always remember that the 3 dots or ellipses in any Microsoft 365 app, that will always indicate that you have more options available to you. So in this ellipses, I can choose to reply to this specific message in this group chat. I can also pin this message. Now, if an important message is sent in your group chat and you want everybody to refer to it, that's how pinning is going to be useful. Now, I pinned this message that Christy has just sent us, so it's now appearing here at the top of our conversation window. Now, remember, we only are able to pin one message at a time or one chat at a time. And if you want to replace this message, we have the ellipses to the right, and we can select unpin and select another message that we want to pin here at the top. Let's find another message here. Okay, so Nestor had an important message. So by the ellipses, once again, we have reply, pin. We can also save this message. If this is a message that you want to refer to later, you have a save group under your profile. So if we select save this message, I'm going to go to my profile once again here at the top right. And here I'm going to see my saved group. Now, any chat or any post from my teams and channels that I chose to save, they're all going to be aggregated here. So I'm going to see a list of all those saved messages. And once I am done with a message, I don't want to bookmark it. I'm just going to reselect the bookmark, and that will remove the message from my saved list. Right. We also have the option to mark this as unread. And when we do that, the chat is going to be bolded again. So this is going to be an indicator for you that there is a message that you haven't tended to. So here you're going to see that this conversation is in bold once again. And later on, if I want to refer to it, I can just select it and read what I need to read. We also have the option to share this message to Outlook. And when we do this, this message is going to appear somewhat like a screenshot in the body of the email, and we can send that over to a coworker if this is something important. And if this was in another language, let's say German, for example, Microsoft Teams has a built-in translator. And when we select this option, this message will be translated to English. And also we have our immersive reader. Now, this is an accessibility feature, great for lengthy messages that maybe we're too busy to read or we'll understand better if read to us. So here we're going to see that message. And at the bottom, you will have your pause and play button for you to play the message. And you can also visit your voice settings if you want to change the playback speed for how slow or how fast you want this message to be read to you. And you can also change the voice, whether you want it to be read in a female voice or a male voice. So if you are tired, your hands are just busy and you don't really have time to really read it, you can have Immersive Reader read the message to you, especially if it's a lengthy message. Okay, let me just go back. All right. I believe that was a lot of information just for our chat. So the next area we're going to go to will be a little bit of the tips and tricks that we can find in our teams and channels. But before I move forward, I want to take a quick pause and see if there are any questions in the Q&A or any requests for redemonstration.
Alrighty. Yeah, so far we're good here on questions. We are clear, so it's safe to continue. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rod. Thank you. And you said that it's safe to continue. I like that. All right. This list is really long right now. All right. That's a lot of things that we're going to do. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your engagement. Now, as I mentioned, we are now moving to our teams and channels. So I'm going to go to my teams and channels. That's here on my left rail. All right, now specifically here in my go-to-market plan channel. Now, at some point, there might be a time that you will need to send an email to a channel. Maybe there is something that you're reading on the internet and you want to share that with the whole channel. You can do that. So you're going to go to the ellipses to that specific channel that you want to send an email to. And when you select that ellipses, you're going to see Get Email Address. So this is an email address that is specifically connected to this channel. Now, once you get that email address or select Get Email Address, you can just select Copy from here. And once that is copied on your clipboard, you can go to Outlook and paste it onto your To field. So whatever you want to send to the channel, just by making use of that channel email, you can send whatever it is that you want to share with the channel. Now, another thing we can do is that if there is maybe a colleague that's kind of interested to join our team or want to see a post in our channel, we also have the option to get link to channel. When we select get link to channel, we can also copy this and send it to a colleague. Now, one thing to remember is that if there are not members of the channel, they will be prompted to hit the join button to request to join the team. All right. Now from here, we're going to move on to our calls and meetings. And because we are in our teams and channels in our channel right now, I'm going to show you our ad hoc meeting. Ad hoc meaning it's unscheduled. It's just a spur of the moment. So at the top of every channel, here at the top right, you will see your meet function. If you go to the right, we have a downward arrow. You'll have other options. Now meet now and meet, they're the same, but we also have the option to schedule a channel meeting. Now I want to show everybody how it's going to look like if we're going to initiate an ad hoc channel meeting. Similar to any meeting we have in Teams, we will be greeted with a pre-meeting screen. So here we have a title for this channel meeting, which we can configure or edit to our liking. And here we can turn on our camera and make some configurations for our audio devices. Now you will see when you initiate an ad hoc meeting, it's going to feel a little lonely at first. Why? Because you're the only one in this meeting. Now here, you will be prompted whether you want to copy the meeting link and maybe share it to another colleague so they can join you, or you can add participants from this button as well. Now, because this is a channel meeting, if I'm going to move this a little bit here to the left, here on the channel, there's going to be a post that will be automatically generated. So everybody in the go-to-market plan will see that there is a meeting going on right now and who are the people who are currently in the meeting. So currently it's just me, sad little me. But I see here that Nestor has sent a message and he said that he's thanking me for creating the meeting. And now Nestor has joined me as well. So the members of this channel can choose to join by selecting the join button, or they can just engage in any conversation that is happening by selecting this reply button. Now, when I go back to that channel meeting, here we go. Christy has also joined us. Thank you so much. We have Nestor has his hand raised. Maybe he has a question. So just like in any meeting that we will have all of those controls available to us. We have our chat, we have our reactions. We can even share our screen or even share any PowerPoint presentations. Now, Nestor, thank you for raising your hand. Just going to lower it real quick. And going back to chat, as I mentioned, I'm here. Any conversation that happens in this meeting will also appear in the channel post. So let's say we've been starting this conversation here. I'm here. If I'm going to send maybe a document, for example, let me just send one really quick. Let me send this Contoso purchasing data. Anything that will transpire in this chat will also appear here in our channel as a truncated and threaded post. So all of the resources that were sent over or shared during this ad hoc meeting in this channel will all be available for everybody who is a part of this team. All right, I'm just going to leave the meeting and end the meeting for everybody else. Yeah, so if I need to refer to a conversation that we had during that ad hoc meeting, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to be here. Now, if I want to schedule a channel meeting, once again, up here, we have that downward caret. You have schedule a meeting. Very similar to how we schedule our standard meetings. But one thing to remember is that in a channel meeting, the members of the channel will not receive direct invitations. So once again, it's just going to appear as a post in the channel. But let's say, for instance, we want to add that channel meeting to our calendar because we want to be reminded. Now, I see here that Lee has scheduled a channel meeting that occurs every Thursday and Friday. I want to be reminded of this meeting, so I'm going to select that ellipses to the right, go to View Meeting Details, and at the top left corner, you will see Add to Calendar. So this is the weekly marketing meet. I've added this to my calendar. So if I go to my calendar, that should appear there. Weekly, there you go, weekly marketing meet. An indicator for you to determine whether this meeting is in a channel or not is if you see this notebook icon. I'm not sure if this is a notebook, but I call it the notebook icon. So this is going to tell you that this is a channel meeting. Now, the last place that you can also initiate an ad hoc meeting will be through your calendar. Now here you'll see that Meet Now button. And from here, very similar to how we saw it in our teams and channels, you're going to start the meeting by yourself, or you can get a link to share, or you can choose to just start it and add your participants once you're inside the meeting. Now, one tip for your ad hoc meetings, a great use of this function is using it as a means to practice your PowerPoint presentations. So you can start a Meet Now or an ad hoc meeting without inviting anybody, so you can practice your presentation solo. All right. Now that's about it for our teams and channels. And now we're going to explore more of our keyboard shortcuts. I did mention a while back that throughout our demonstration, we will get to know some of our keyboard shortcuts that will help us work faster while using our Teams application. First off, we can access a list of our keyboard shortcuts in two different ways. The third way, I will have my moderators post it in the Q&A panel. But first, you'll be able to see a list of your keyboard shortcuts by going to your ellipses just beside your profile. Now, again, you will see that keyboard shortcuts list. And you're going to notice it's a lot of keyboard shortcuts. And they're all categorized by general, navigation. And if you're more interested to know keyboard shortcuts for your meetings, we have a whole section here for meetings, calls, and calendar. Another way for us to access a list of keyboard shortcuts, and to me, it's a cooler way, we can make use of our search bar here at the top of our screen. Now, when you get to your search bar, type down / and then the word keys. / keys will take you to the same keyboard shortcut list that we saw a while back. So if I select that option, it's going to take me to that same list. Right. Now let's actually see some of these keyboard shortcuts in action. Now, first off, I want to introduce everybody to Control E as in echo. Now, wherever you may be within the Teams application, you can quickly get to your search bar by using Control E. So now let's say I am in the calendar area and I am scheduling some meetings. If I want to quickly search for something, instead of selecting or clicking on my search bar, I can quickly just do Control E. And you'll see that the search bar is now enabled and I can type down what I need to look for. Within our chats, for example, or even in our teams and channels, if we're going to try to look for a specific item that is within the chat, a great keyboard shortcut for that will be Control and then F for Foxtrot. Control F, and you will see here your keyboard is going to indicate that you can type down any keyword that will search through here in your conversation. So let's say I'm trying to look for the word lunch because I know we talked about lunch. And when I select Enter, the results will be shown here to the left. And I can select one of them just to view them. and look for the one that I am trying to search for. Now, if I want to start a new chat, for example, maybe I am in the files area. Let's see if it works here. So to start a new chat, it will be Control N. All right. So even if you are in a different tab, once you select Control or you press down Control and N for November, it's going to take you back to your chat and it will open up a new window for you to start a new conversation. So once again, that's Control plus N. All right, pretty cool. Now, the next thing I want to show will be within our meetings. Now, a lot of users are asking for keyboard shortcuts that can be useful in a meeting. So let's see if I have a meeting, or maybe I can just do an ad hoc meeting with my group here. So I'm going to select this audio icon here. All right, I'm just calling everybody in. Hopefully they will pick up. There you go. All right, thank you, everybody. Now, one of the things that a lot of users ask for is a keyboard shortcut to quickly toggle your microphone on and off. Now, we have two shortcuts that we can make use of. So when you hover here on your microphone icon, you're going to actually see the keyboard shortcut for unmuting your microphone, which will be Control-Shift-M. Control-Shift-M will unmute your microphone until you mute it back. Another option is Control Spacebar. Now, Control Spacebar, you have to hold down both keys. Control Spacebar will temporarily unmute your microphone. So unless you let go of the two keys, it's going to stay unmuted. And once you let go of the key combination, it's going to go back to being muted. So again, Control and Spacebar, that's going to temporarily unmute your microphone. But if you're going to talk for a longer time, you might want to make use of Control-Shift-M instead. All right. Now for cameras, unfortunately, I won't be able to show it, but if you want to toggle your camera on and off using a keyboard shortcut, that's going to be Control, Shift, and then O. So again, for your camera, that's going to be Control, Shift, and then O. All right. And now I'm just going to leave the meeting and end it for everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Now, as you can see, we have an extensive list of keyboard shortcuts that you can explore on your spare time. And once you've picked up a couple of those shortcuts, you'll be working faster and more efficiently. Now, I will also have our moderators post a link to our support page listing keyboard shortcuts for Windows users and, of course, the Mac OS users. So we did not forget about our Mac OS users. You also have those keyboard shortcuts that you can use within our Teams application. All right. Now, before we leave our search bar, there are a couple more things that we can do in here. Now, you've seen a while back, I typed down /. / will initiate a list of commands that you can use using your search bar. So here I'm seeing a list of them. To the left, I'll see the commands. And then to the right, I will see a description of that specific command. Now, if I want to change my status message, or not status message, but status presence to do not disturb, for example, instead of going to my profile and changing it this way, I can just easily go to my search bar, type down /, and also type down DND. And this is going to be for do not disturb. Right. If I want to quickly send a message to somebody, maybe let's say I am in the calendar tab once again. And while I am scheduling some meetings, I want to ask somebody a question. So instead of going to chat, let's make use of what we learned. Control E for your search bar, /. This time we're going to type down chat. When we select chat, we can add the person that we want to send a message to. Maybe I want to send a message to Christy. And then I'm going to type my message. I'm going to ask Christy when she is available on Monday so I can schedule our meeting. And from here, I can send over this message. I can even select enter if I want to be taken to our conversation. But again, a really quick way to send messages to colleagues if you are in a different module or a different section in your Teams application. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Christy. I will schedule our meeting later. All right. Now, the last two things that we'll be talking about will be our Files tab and our Personal Workspace. Now, Files tab here on our app rail, this is going to be an aggregation of all the files that we are working on here in our Teams application. It is going to be categorized into different categories. That's why it's categorized. So first you have recent. Obviously, these are your files that you have recently opened, you have recently worked in, and you're going to see here when it was modified and where you can find this file. Microsoft Teams will list all of the files that you have in your Teams and channels. And just like in recent, you're also going to see information here as to how long ago it was modified, and of course, the location. Now, the only difference is that you're also going to see a column here signifying who was the last person who modified this document. We also have downloads. If you downloaded any document or file from the Teams application, you're going to see a list of them here. And you can also quickly go to your downloads folder in your local Explorer. Let me select that. So it's just going to take you to your downloads folder and show you what you have downloaded from the Teams application. And of course, we have OneDrive. So OneDrive for Business is also connected to our Teams application. Now, any file that we send over in our personal chats, we're going to see them here in our OneDrive. So we have Microsoft Teams chat files. Any files that I have sent over in chats, one-on-one or group, I'm going to find a list of them here. In our meetings, if I initiated a recording of the meeting, I also have a folder here for all of those recordings. Now, what's important here will be the sharing column that's found to the right. Now, I'm saying this is important because this is going to tell you whether the document that you have in your OneDrive is still private to you, or you have already shared it to some of your colleagues. Now, let's say I want to share a file straight from here, and just select this circle to the left. And from here, I'm going to go to copy link, or you can make use of the ellipses to the right of the file, and you'll find the same option. When you select copy link, you're going to see that familiar link setting configuration. So here, just make sure you are specifying who you want this link to work for. If you just want people with existing access or people in your organization, or maybe specific people, you can type down a name, for example, Nestor. And just like we saw a while back, you'll have options as well, whether you want them to edit, review, or just view this as a read-only file. And select apply. And once that link is ready to go, you can copy it and maybe send it through email or send it through a chat. But if you are in a chat, do remember you have the paperclip icon. So if you're going to share any files that are from your OneDrive, you have that paperclip icon once again just below your compose box, and you can access your OneDrive storage this way as well. All right. Now, one last stop before we wrap up our session. This will be our personal workspace. Now, our teams and channels, they're not only for bigger groups of people to collaborate. We can also make use of a team just for ourselves, so we can have all of our resources and files, and we can even organize them using channels. So let's go back to our teams. And at the very bottom, I'm going to see join or create a team. Now, do remember, I am creating a team just for myself. So here, I'm going to have the create a team button. And it's really up to you, whatever you want your team to look like. Again, this is just your personal workspace. You can make use of the templates here or even build it from scratch. I'm just going to select build from scratch. And because it's just going to be me, I'll just select private for now. And I'm just going to call this my workspace. I can add a description, but I think that's not really necessary since it's just for me. I'll select create. All right, and I've created a team. Now it's just going to be myself for now, so I'm just going to skip adding any members. I have the skip button here at the bottom right. And now that team has been created. Now again, this team is just for my personal use. Now I can add channels. So the general channel is automatically created every time a team is created. So I can make use of this for maybe another type of repository for my documents. But if I want to add a channel, I'm going to go to the ellipses. And from here, I can select Add Channel. Now, let's say I want to have one channel for logistics, one channel for event planning, and so on and so forth. So you can make use of those channels as categories for the different resources and the different files that you have pertaining to that subject. So let's say I'm just going to call this logistics for now. Again, optional description. And for privacy, I'm just going to leave it as private, maybe just for me. And I can select create. Again, I don't need to add any members for now. I'm just going to select skip. This is just my personal workspace. So I am the only one who will be able to access this. So if I need to add any files related to logistics, some of my personal files, I can go to files and add those documents as needed. So again, this is just another way for you to make use of your teams and channels. They're not only for bigger groups of people, but you can make use of it as your own personal workspace. All right. Now, to really wrap up our session, we will go over our help section. Our help section is found here at the bottom of our left rail. And if you are maybe stuck trying to remember how to do a certain task in Teams, your help icon will be your best friend. When you select the help icon, you can select one of these options here. Let's select topics, and it will take you to the landing page for Teams help. Now, topics will show you articles that you can read that will talk about how to create breakout rooms, for example, how you can blur your background when you are using your cameras. And you can even make use of the search bar here at the top to filter out what you want to read about. Training will have bite-sized videos that you can watch, still about the many functions and tools within Teams. If you're more of a visual learner, training will be the best spot to look for those videos. And we also have what's new. This will be listing all the updates and new features that are added to Teams. So these are going to be categorized by desktop and web, the iOS and Android platforms for mobile, and you can read off what's new in our Teams application. All right. And that about sums up our session today. So we have reached the end of the demonstration. I want to use the last 2 minutes of our session for any outstanding questions in the Q&A and any requests for re-demonstrations. Rod, do we have anything?
At this point in time, we have zit. We don't have anything, so it makes me think that everybody understood the content, so did a terrific job. You can definitely do a recap and wrap it up.
All right. Oh, thank you so much, Rod, and everybody in this session today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're just going to do a really quick recap, just so we know what we talked about today. All right, let me reshare my screen. Here we go. All right, so today we did go over some best practices for our formatting options and our messaging extensions that are found in our chats. We also saw our tools and best practices that will help us streamline our collaboration process with our colleagues. And we also saw how we can just create a personal workspace for us so we can manage other resources and files that we want to keep track of without our colleagues, so just our personal workspace. And that's really helping our workday get faster. And of course, we saw our keyboard shortcuts and our commands in our search bar. Now, before we let go of everybody, we're going to post a link in our Q&A panel for our survey. This is going to reflect directly on myself as a presenter, and we have Rod, Yamelsi, Dahlia, and Triple J as the moderators of this session today. That should take less than 2 minutes of your time, but we will appreciate any feedback that you can give us. Alternatively, you can whip up your phone. You can also scan this QR code that you are seeing in the screen, and this is going to take you to the same survey link that is going to be posted on the Q&A. And lastly, please remember this session is recorded. You can re-access this session for the next 90 days. Just make use of that same meeting link that you used to join this live session. So if you need to refer back to some of the steps that we did today, always make use of that link. And again, that's going to be active for the next 90 days. All right, just one last time, did we get any questions in the Q&A?
Nope, we're good.
All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please have a great rest of your afternoon and stay safe.